study and from a field deployment. We also discuss how we strongly inherit from the principles of personal visual analytics despite targeting element.
White space surfaces are a novel approach to convey depth in vessel visualizations. The core idea is to shift all additional depth cues away from geometry and to use the usually empty space between the vascular structures. This allows us to display functional parameters on the surface and supporting cues on the background. We will explain how to generate such surfaces and how to use them as a canvas to further enhance depth and shape perception.
Progressive visual analytics provides intermediate results in the middle of computation to address a long computational delay. However, such intermediate results are uncertain, so findings from these results can turn out to be incorrect for the entire data. In progressive visual analytics with safeguards, we suggest to risk the uncertainty, but we allow humans to leave safeguards every time they risk the uncertainty.
Tableau helps you see the stories in your data. It's designed to help you be smarter, so you can make better decisions faster. Connect to the data you care about. Sort, highlight, drill down, or filter your data in seconds. Add calculations to extend your data. With Tableau, you can keep on asking questions in the data until you discover the root cause. Tableau. Answer questions at the speed of thought.
Hands-on cybersecurity training represents a domain where we
Okay, welcome everyone for this workshop about data visualization activities. We are all really excited to have you there, and we will share on Twitter with the hashtag VisAct and IEEE Vis. Before entering the topic, we would like to present you the team of, there is me, Benjamin Bach, Uta Heinrich, Jonathan Roberts, and Mandy Keck. So actually, Uta and Benjamin won't be available right now because they are both having a baby. So Benjamin is having a baby right now, and Uta just got a baby, so they're a bit busy. So just quickly to present myself and some of the work, I'm really interested about how people are creating visualization outside computers and what process they follow and how this process could produce meaning for them. I'm also interested about VIS teaching, VIS design, and democratization of VIS. And you can follow me or follow my news on Twitter at the handle Cybank. Benjamin Bach is a lecturer, so I will present him right now. He's a lecturer at the University in Visualization at the University of Edinburgh. He's working on data comics, on teaching activity, on visual storytelling and immersive visualization. One of our work will be presented among the paper today. And Uta Heinrich is an assistant professor in human-computer interaction and information visualization. She's really interested by physical data representation and engaging people into visualization. She's also interested about visualization as a method to facilitate dialogue. And then I will leave Jonathan present himself.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Roberts. You might know me from multiple coordinated views or maybe the 5 design sheets. Check out the book on 5 design sheets if you want to know more about that. But I'm interested in help people learn about visualization. So VisActivities is really close to my heart.
Okay, and hello from Dresden in Germany. I'm Mandy Keck from the University in Dresden, and I'm also interested in VisActivities, VIS teaching, and also visual search interfaces, and also will present an activity next Thursday about a construction kit for visualizations, so also related to this topic here.
We also would like to thank the programs committee with Lynn Martram, Anastasia Bezerianos, Raul Bagareva, Marianne Dork, Sarah Goodwin, Kyle Hall, Petra Eisenberg, Isabelle Murides, Till Nagel, Charles Perrin, Arran Ridley, John Schwabish, Romain Vimo, Yagoda Walmi, and Zenzang Wang. So on the screen here, you can see a picture of the French Prime Minister showcasing a visualization of COVID incidence rates. No legend, no axis, no explanation at all. This shows us that VIS is widely used to explain complex phenomena to everyone, but also that maybe sometimes it's presented with many problems. So we can see a wider engagement with visualization in the general, and there is more and more a need for teaching. More and more visualization classes in academia, but also outside academia. And visualization is becoming pervasive. As visualization researcher, teacher, and designer, we are all trying to make data easier to analyze and understand. And we produce really fancy technique and super cool toolkits and incredible experiment and study to better understand visualization. But often we tend to see visualization as artifacts. However, these are also a social process. The process through we elaborate them collectively, the process through we read them, the process through we understand the representation of the data. So more what data visualization activity are. This is why we wanted to investigate that. So we define visualization activities as step-by-step procedures that allow people to achieve tasks with data and visualization. Among the VIS community, a lot of us are doing these activities, maybe sometimes even without being aware of them. As teacher, we organize activity for our students to learn aspects relative to data visualization. As a researcher, when we work with data experts or stakeholders, we often engage in some sort of activities through discussing the needs of other data aspects. As designer, we often explore alternatives through various prototyping approach and other activities too. Most often, these activities are not even formalized as activities. It's just us interacting with other people and trying to think with data visualization or teach or learn something. We think it's important to talk about this activity for reuse, reflection, evaluation, and dissemination. So this activity covers many domains and tasks like education and learning, design in ideation, democratization and engaging, collaboration and analysis, and even self-reflection. Among some work in this domain, a lot of work exists in this domain. So we can list the 5 design sheets from Jonathan Roberts, the use of VisKit inside classroom from Wesley Willett, or this activity from Santiago Ortiz where we have just to draw 2 numbers. I think many of us are already using this one. But sketching visualization is also widespread during the design process. Here is a picture from the work of Jagoda Walmi. But I'm pretty sure we have all different ways of organizing or sketching activity with data experts or users. And all of them are activities. VisKit as an activity to bootstrap visual mapping process for novices in science fair is also an activity used to engage data stakeholder, but also the work of Zezong Wang, Harvey Dingwald, and Benjamin about data comics is a teaching activity that involves collaboration and analysis. And Anaël Benyon card deck based on Ivan Jensen and Pierre Dragicevic collection of data physicalization is also an activity to collaborate on analyzing different views. And last example from existing work, AL Institute also designed a self-reflection toolkits and activity to study how people reflect on their personal data. It could also be considered as a personal data activity. So a lot of work already exists. But in this workshop, we wanted to collect and gather more from you, from the author and from the audience. So we want to find a good way to describe, discuss, and understand visualization activity. So now I will give the mic to Mandy to present the challenges and the
and there are different challenges, and maybe we can even collect more during the first session, like challenges related to education, to teaching, materials used in the activities, also structures, or also guidelines and evaluation. So let's see if we can also collect some more. And the workshop goals are, you have to click to the next one, sorry. I'm faster than you are, even the next one already. And our workshop goals, we want to start building an understanding and to synthesize protocols and materials used to lead to data activities, and to bring together researchers, practitioners, and also educators from different fields, and also to brainstorm and design and experience and try out novel activities. Some part we also planned for the second session, what we unfortunately can't do all online as planned. But also we want to discuss issues around these goals, methods, audiences, materials, and evaluation for teaching data visualizations. And on the next slide, I want to announce already there will be a special issue on visualization, education, and teaching, visualization literacy. It's scheduled for April 2021. And more information you find on our website. So just stay in contact for this. Now for the workshop schedule, we plan to 2 parts of our workshop. In the first part, we will have 2 paper sessions where we introduce the papers. We always introduce 4 papers, and then we will have a question and answer session after this. So you can already collect questions during the talks. And then we will have always 15 minutes to answer these questions. Then we will have a short break of 30 minutes to grab a coffee. And then in the second session, we start with our activity which will start in breakout rooms, and everyone can also join in Zoom later in the second part of the workshop who wants to discuss the challenges with us. In total, we had 10 different papers submitted, and each paper got more than 2 reviews, 1 meta review. So thanks again for the program committee who helped us with reviewing all the papers. And yeah, now we selected 8 papers which will be presented today with the topics like tools, methods, activities for teaching visualizations to kids, gamification, online learning, improvisation, and the science sprints. And you can find all these papers on our workshop website VisActivities at GitHub. And everything will be online, is online already, so you can check them already live. Yeah, how we will interact with the workshop. We decided to use a Miro board. I will send the link now in the Discord channel, and also have here a short link on the slides. So I hope you all can have access to the board. You can open it in the browser. And I will start to share my screen now. I hope. Yeah, then I have to cut you. I hope it works.
I can stop sharing now.
No, it's fine. So can everyone see the Miro board? Oh my God, so many people here already. Okay, this is the playground we will use today. And here in the first slide, we have already, it's a bit of playground where you can also upload stuff, test stuff, upload pictures. Somehow 2 pictures are not here now. We have to upload. Oh, yeah, okay. So some of you already uploaded your pictures. Thank you. So I also asked now everyone who wants to join the workshop and is also there in the second session, just also upload a small avatar, a sketch or a picture with the name, and even, yeah, here we have already an example with email address. If you want to stay in contact, you can use here on the left side the upload button, and yeah, just upload a picture. Then you can create text with the text tool, and I hope this will work fine. And now I will just give a small introduction. You have several shortcuts which might be helpful, because sometimes depends which device you are using. It can be, yeah, you might select something when you want to pan the screen. So with V or H, you can change the cursor to the hand for panning, or back to the mouse cursor for selecting stuff. It's this button here. It's just a useful shortcut. Or with Shift and Drag, you can multi-select stuff, like I did it here, which is also very helpful. And with Alt and Drag, you can also duplicate stuff if you need the same picture later again. And whoops, no, this yeah, happens with me already. There are some like things you can do, like arranging a group of elements if you want to. You can to group them and to have a whole group together, or you can also ungroup them again to have them in different, then you just lose also the groups I created here already. So in case you upload your picture with a name and then just shift and multi-select, you can group them so the name and the picture are attached to each other. So here, yeah, I ungrouped it, unfortunately, now everything. So these are the most important things. You see all the other ones here in the board, the cursors. If the cursors are irritating, you can also switch them off. And then you also can use the drawing tool here. You can connect, make connections. Also, when you click on one to refer to something, you can use these lines and sticky notes, which are really helpful just to put some comments. So this is the main features we will need. And here you see already we have 2 questions boards for the first 2 papers and for the first 4 papers, and for the second part, the other 4 papers. So if you have already questions, there are already some collected. I will collect them also in Discord and in a YouTube channel to put them here on one place. And then in the second round, we want to discuss different challenges related to VisActivities. So all the challenges you are interested in, you can already collect here just with these sticky notes. And yeah, on the left side, you also see here the workshop schedule. So everything in mountain time. And that's it for now. So I hope this will work fine and we all can work here together and share also our contacts for later, because my report will stay online also after the workshop. Okay, then I stop sharing my screen. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mandy. So maybe we can go directly to the first session, and I will introduce all the speakers at the same time because we are already late. So the first speaker is Jonathan Schwabish, and he will present teaching database to kids. The second speaker is Arran Ridley, and he will present the VisTools marketplace, an activity to understand the landscape of visualization tools. Then we will have Amy Ray Fox, surfacing misconceptions through visualization critique. And last, Georgia Panagiotidou, GoCo, a gamified activity for Winnowing visualization project with interdisciplinary experts. So let's start.
Hello, I'm Arran, and on behalf of myself, Sarah Schöttler, Aba-Sah Dadzie, and Benjamin Bach, I will be delivering a talk on our paper, The VisTools Marketplace, an activity to understand the landscape of visualization tools. The VisTools Marketplace, in short, is a learning activity to engage learners in understanding tools for visualization and sharing individual knowledge about tools. The activity has 4 learning goals intended to help learners understand the range of tools and to critically engage with the selection of appropriate tools for their workflow. This session was therefore delivered online, but would easily be deliverable in person in a classroom setting. The discussion herein and in the paper itself contends with delivering this session in an online context. The VisTools Marketplace is a learning activity using the Viz browser, an online collection of visualization tools. The Viz browser itself is a web interface to search and browse visualization tools, and you can find this at vistools.net. So at the outset of the DataViz online course, the number of tools hosted in the Viz browser was deliberately limited to around 20. This was so that users wouldn't get lost in the amount of tools listed and so they could add tools as part of the activity. The activity was designed to explore the Viz browser as part of a wider discussion on tools, conceptualized as the VisTools Marketplace. The core idea of this activity is to engage learners in knowledge exchange about tools they're familiar with, discussion of tool characteristics and workflows. To that end, the activity is structured into 2 parts, an experts discussion and a novice discussion. To support these steps, participants use the Viz browser, which is introduced through a demonstration at the outset of the activity. Following the introduction, the participants are split up into their expert groups, where they discuss the tools that they've used, engaging with the Viz browser, and start to fill in a tool matrix. The tool matrix is a simple conceptual framework to group and discuss visualization tools. So learners locate tools based along the 2 dimensions, describing the user and task-centered process followed. And with this task, they place the tools on the matrix and sort of annotated their experience with the tool. Following a group discussion, the learners now move into their novice discussion groups. These groups are based upon the skills or tools that they would like to learn, and each group has a nominated expert that helps to guide the discussion. So did participants engage during the activity? In general, they did. They engaged well during the 2 activity. So the course design restricts tutorials to no more than 30 participants. So with it running twice with around 50 to 20 participants, they engaged well with the tools and the matrix, as well as the Viz browser, and in subsequent sort of discussion board conversations after the sessions. Was discussing tools with the tool matrix helpful? So participants used the group completed tool matrix and the Viz browser as a starting point for learning about tools in the novice discussions, and kind of how to frame the specific features and workflows. How did discussions unfold? Discussions continued beyond the tutorial session. For example, one facilitator posted a question that was raised in one of the breakout groups to the course Slack, and this kind of carried on a useful conversation where people shared their own experience and tool usage as well as knowledge. So how to create groups for the activities? We had groups organized around tools for specific data types, for example, networks, time and approaches, visual storytelling, communication. So this allowed participants to discuss the relevant tools within each of these groups and their interests and relate them to course projects. An alternative we didn't try is groups arranged around specific tools. We think this could make sense if a course covers a very specific limited set of tools rather than the kind of open nature that ours had. Did the Viz browser itself support the activity? So engagement with the Viz browser as learning tool was supported through faceted search, so people made use of the different facet filters. And after the tutorial, 12 additional tools and 45 reviews were submitted to the Viz browser. Did the activity help learning and thinking about tools? So prior to activity, most participants had experience with some tools. But as one participant highlighted, charts are often chosen based on tool functionality rather than design rationale. So it can be said that the activity did help to start thinking and learning about tools. So how to engage participants with little tool experience? We are moving into understanding this a bit more now. We're actually running this activity twice more with a master's cohort at the University of Edinburgh and within a meetup group. So this is an area that we're actually kind of, I think, developing and thinking of developing into a full paper. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to any feedback that you may have.
Information visualization is now so pervasive in our modern information ecosystems that even novice students often come to us with an abundance of personal experience in the topic. However, a student's exposure to graphics through media and education is often not sufficiently diverse for most to appreciate the nuance and complexity required to design and evaluate effective representations in different communicative contexts. Today, I'm going to introduce a simple introductory activity that you can use in either formal or informal learning settings to challenge students to think about the criteria they use to evaluate representations. The activity is designed to expose preconceived notions students may have about what makes a visualization effective. This activity was designed in collaboration with Dr. Taylor Jackson Scott in the Department of Cognitive Science at the University of California, San Diego. Introductory courses in visualization often start with best practices for the visual encoding of data based on perceptual characteristics. These are really good starting points for visualization design. However, rankings of visual variables and perceptual discriminability do not tell the whole story of visualization design. Designers also have to decide which subsets of data to represent, which variables or comparisons to prioritize, and in what encoding channels. These decisions are made by considering the context of our artifacts, specifically with respect to the audience, their prior knowledge, beliefs, and skills, as well as the task, what the reader is expected to do with the representation. And finally, the communicative context, the designer's goal in the communication, be it to inform, to persuade, perhaps to mislead, record, or educate. In our experience, it is common for novice learners to persist with narrow assumptions about what is good in visualization, good visualizations being those that are dense, easy to read, immediately discriminable, and reflecting the truth for some set of data. The reality is that the most effective representation for some particular audience or particular task might not look easy to read to the novice user. And even when our communicative task is to inform in an unbiased a manner as possible, the choices we make about what data to represent indicate a voice through which any objective truth is filtered. These misconceptions about all good visualizations being simple or easy to read are often implicit, largely unquestioned, and deeply held by our novice students. But best practices in science education tell us that we can revise these beliefs with correct conceptual models if the inaccurate ideas are identified and confronted. In our classroom, we've done this through visualization critique. A critique activity is very straightforward, highly customizable, and may even be something you're already using in your classroom. Here I'll describe how we integrated critique into an entry-level visualization course in the Cognitive Science Department at UCSD. We structured the critique activity as an individual graded assignment. Students were directed to selections from any source they wanted, excluding those we had already discussed in class or those that were critiqued in a text or other online source. Students prepared short blog posts where they described each visualization and made inferences about the intended audience and task for which the visualization was produced. They concluded their blog posts with a critique of the designer's decisions and overall evaluation of effectiveness. We then graded the assignments primarily based on effort and gave individual feedback on each submission. Most importantly, in the lecture section following the submission due date, we reviewed the most common misconceptions that were present in the students' submissions and conducted a group discussion. The following week, students were asked to then make comments on their own blog posts, where they reflected on their more nuanced understanding of communicative contexts. We were pleased to observe a strong revision of beliefs in these reflections. In our short paper, you can find examples of the misconceptions expressed by our students and how we chose to address these pedagogically through discussions and reading. The most important thing is to prompt your students to explicitly express these ideas so that they can either be reinforced or confronted and revised. Now, there are a number of ways you might envision customizing this activity. It can be delivered in person, perhaps in a workshop, or even in groups. For timed activities, we recommend hand-choosing a limited corpus of visualizations specifically designed to elicit the kind of misconceptions you want to confront. We hope that this activity sparks some ideas for you and might be useful in either your formal or informal learning settings. You can find more of our observations regarding misconceptions in the short paper, and of course, we'd be more than happy to discuss further if you reach out to us via email or Twitter. Thanks, and happy visualizing.
Hello everyone, my name is Panagiotidou and I will present to you our activity called GoCo, which is used for winnowing visualization projects with interdisciplinary experts. GoCo stands for, it's an acronym for a game of connections, and is a game that uses physical tokens, a digital application, in order to track connections among experts and is able to export them as semantic networks that you can bring back to the experts to discuss. This activity was developed as part of a solution to support interdisciplinary collaboration, in which, as we know, it can uncover new realms of knowledge and create new problem conceptualizations, but at the same time there's a lot of need for time commitment, infrastructure, and motivation by our participants. In our specific case, we're working with archaeological research projects with experts coming from archaeology, ecology, and human geography. And we were invited there as visualization experts to help synthesize their data into visualizations to make insights. However, the data that we're discussing here are very diverse, from historical pollen sample, excavated artifacts, resident interviews, so which only occasionally overlapped in their dimensions. So it left a lot to be discussed before being able to align these perspectives and merge them in the visualization. I should note that in this case, the point of the research projects was to understand patterns of change in the region over time. So this activity we're describing is actually very early on in a visualization project and in the stage called Winnowing. And this is only one of a series of things we have developed, or activities we have developed within this project, but this is the one we're presenting here now. As I mentioned early on, we collected concepts of how each discipline understood change, and we actually used these concepts to kind of help this to drive this activity and to help the winnowing. We're not going to discuss the rationale of why we designed the game like this, but please refer to the paper or ask questions as you wish afterwards. So GoCo is a team-based game where each team can include multiple experts from a single discipline. During a game round, teams progressively build connections among the concepts by narrating plausible, contextualized situations in which these are correlated. For example, the concept of demographics and drought holds such a relation. An extensive drought impacts the crops and eventually the demographics of a region. The game evolves in such a way that each team is obliged to continue on what the other teams have already discussed, thus ensuring the convergence of narratives. The concepts are placed in the middle of the table, while each team holds a little side desk with their own digital application, the game rules, and their own color tokens to indicate which concepts they're connecting. The game is competitive, and you collect points by actually creating valid connections between the tokens. The amount of points depends on how often this connection has been repeated, and to ensure that these are actually valid scientific connections, all the other teams have to agree with them. So the connections that are made among the disciplines, once they are established as valid, they are actually also inputted in the digital application manually by the team, which gives them the points and score. And then this actually application exports a CSV that we can use to create those networks and their connections. This allows us to evolve and to see which connections are more prominent or not among the players or among the teams. We used these, we connected all these exports from each of the digital applications and showed them back the next day to our participants and reflected on which directions they think they would like to prefer to go into. It actually was successful in giving that alignment, but some aspects worked better than others. So the game was actually engaging, but the scoring mechanism was not so good. So maybe the narrative seemed to work much better as motivating the players. The tangible tokens helped, but did not alleviate total abstraction issues caused by the tokens, by the concepts. And we found that data capturing to the digital app was actually adopted fluidly, and we suggest that it can be used in future kinds of activities as well. We found that timekeeping was not easy to enforce, since we had to balance between the depth of ideas that participants, experts wanted to discuss versus what we know as is good in these kind of activities, like going for breadth. This is a summary of this activity. Thank you very much. We look forward to your questions.
Excellent. Maybe we can start with the first question for Jonathan. There is a question which is quite provocative, but I like it. Should we be teaching everything as if we were teaching to kids?
Yeah, I saw that question. I love that question. I mean, I think the short answer is no. We always have to know who we're communicating with and the expertise level. I'll say for the the exercises that I've conducted with the kids, one way that can be done with adults is instead of having them draw a map of their house, they draw a map of the world. And actually, this is an idea from Valentina De Filippo, who's done this exercise in her workshops with The Guardian. And what she has found, and what I find is really interesting, is that especially when you have an international group of participants, when you ask people to draw a map of the world, everybody centers the map in a different place, right? Based on where they grew up, the culture and the country that they grew up in. And then, of course, if you can give them tracing paper and have them add their own data, you have a whole other layer. So, I mean, I think a lot of the learning techniques apply to both kids and adults, but I think we just need to keep in mind who we are talking to and what expertise and experience they bring to the classroom.
Thank you very much. There is a question about VisTools that I can read, which is, what criteria did you use to pick which tools to include? I do a similar tool review activity to have students write tools review and share back with each other. My criteria focus on breadth to get a variety in front of them, focused on different type of storytelling. Arran, I think it's for you.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted for a moment. Yeah, we went with just the kind of well-known tools to start off with, really. So we kind of had things like raw graphs, Tableau, kind of, and so on in there. Kind of, so we did try and pick the ones that would be known by the participants, and then they actually started to add in some of the more kind of specific tools, particularly GIS tools that they knew, and that was kind of a way of, yeah, kind of just starting with the basic, well-known tools to start off with. And was there a second part?
No, maybe I can refer. I think it's a question for Raoul. Raoul, do you want to jump in, or?
No, that's great. I just wanted to hear the criteria, and it's interesting to think about how you start and which tools you show them. Thank you.
We have again a question from Jonathan. From John Kun Kelly, which is, any worry from parents about the privacy issue with kids drawing inside the house?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, we didn't. Well, we didn't really. I mean, to be honest, we didn't ask the kids. We didn't ask for permission for privacy for the kids to draw their homes. I mean, they kept the paper for themselves. I will say in the paper for this project, we are proposing an evaluation of this particular project. And for that, we would want the parents to sign off, because in particular, what we're interested in knowing is, if you teach kids for an hour or 2 hours or whatever it is, and then you give them a quiz. So the part of the evaluation is teach these techniques in various ways across 3 different classes, and then give the kids a quiz, and then hopefully come back in another month and do it. And we were set to do this up in the spring, and of course, COVID hit and we had to stop. But one thing that we wanted to do as part of that evaluation is understand the parents of the children. So if your mom or dad is a data visualization expert, you would probably want to know that when the kids have to take a quiz on whether they know what a waffle chart is. So going to the next step, we were worried about privacy, but for this particular exercise, not so much, because we were just in the class. The kids kept all of their own materials, and of course I had worked with the teachers beforehand. And when we did it online, the kids were on their own. I will say, for the online version that we did, I recorded the session, but only for myself to sort of enhance and improve it. But the recording was not ever released publicly. The recording was kept internal because we had kids on camera. So the online version, we had more privacy concerns than when we were live in the classroom.
Thank you very much. There is a question for Amy, which is, what would VIS training look like for these?
Hi, I love this question. And sorry, I'm having some bandwidth issues, so I'm going to leave my camera off. I think to Jonathan's point earlier, the nature of the VIS training is going to depend on the audience that you're training. of course. I think that critique is a good mechanism for getting at bias. So I think you could adapt a critique type activity. And I think there's folks in the Discord chat that were talking about the different ways that they run critique activities. I think a good way then to structure or improve that activity specifically for bias would be to based on who your audience is, hand selecting that corpus of pre-selected visualizations that you either know to have a particular voice, right? And then challenging students to be able to identify that voice. Question I've thought all that deeply about in my own teaching. But I think that would be a good first step.
Cool, thank you very much. I think we will take just one last question. It's by Jonathan to Georgia. How long does the game take about GoCo, a gamified activity?
So it kind of depends on how many people are playing, but in our case, we had like 3 teams, and each team had about 2 to 5 people. We run 6 rounds, and it was in total around 3.5 hours with a little break in between. So it kind of really depends. And the thing is that there's no specific endpoint. So even though it goes by points, you can actually stop it at the moment where you feel like it's ready to be, it's sufficient, let's say, it's pluralistic enough.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank all the speakers for this first session, and I will give the mic and the Zoom to Jonathan Roberts for the second session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jonathan, you seem mute.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. So welcome to the next session of a group of papers. Yes, we seem to be multitasking here with Discord and with Miro board. So if you have any questions as the talks go on, add them to the Miro board, and we can then take those questions. So the next set of papers are, again, thinking about those activities. We have pandemic pedagogy, something on our minds at the moment, taking data viz learning online by Raoul. And then we have data crafting, exploring data through craft and play by Natalie. Visualization improvisation, this idea of maybe trying to think differently by Swaroop Panda. And finally, within this session, we have a talk on design sprints for online and on-campus visualization courses. So we'll do the same again. We'll hear the recorded videos, and then we'll come back and have question and answer. So over to the recordings. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rahul Bhargav, and I'm an assistant professor at Northeastern University. Welcome to my garage office. My paper is called Pandemic Pedagogy, and it's about what happened this spring as I was teaching my data storytelling course, which involves hands-on activities for learning how to work with data to tell stories. I was forced to rethink and take some of these hands-on activities from an in-person setting to an online setting. And I want to talk about 3 that helped me rethink them and replan them and provide for how that went. These 3 guiding principles include, first, what is the key thing I want people to learn? What are my driving learning goals? Secondly, what can the technology that I have to use in this virtual setting actually do to help me? And third, how can I take advantage of the learner's physical space and turn that into something that helps an activity? So my first case study is my data sculptures activity, which uses craft materials like these to go from a data set presented on paper to a physical visualization, a physicalization that tells some story in the data. Now, typically I run this as a quick activity in a classroom in pairs. So considering those 3 guiding principles, for the first one, I decided that the goal of going from data to a sculpture meant that I wanted to retain that learning experience. 2, the second one, I wanted to think about what the technology offered me. So doing that in Teams didn't really work in Zoom because of the physical materials, so I turned it into an at-home assignment. And third, whether I could take advantage of the students' surroundings. So what I did was invite them to use materials in their own home settings with data they had already used to create and then share online on a WordPress blog, physical sculptures that they were making. My initial findings suggest that within these constraints, students actually created projects that demonstrated far richer physical encodings and more complicated narratives than they otherwise create. And I don't think it was just the fact that they had a little more time. As you can see in these example pictures, I see a richness of encodings around food to represent food diversity, complicated visuals around like tip of the iceberg metaphors, and some clever reuse of visual encodings like height with honey in jars to represent different amounts of quantity. My second case study is about a visual word web sketching activity where students are encouraged to connect ideas that are hard to visualize, like cultural traditions, to nouns and other things they can build a symbolic language with to inform a visualization. Now, it works great on paper around a big table where you have serendipitous things that happen. In a virtual setting, the learning goal of trying to brainstorm and step away from the data can still work. So I was able to maintain that. But when I thought about the affordance of the technology, I was struggling to come up with an approach, so I decided to try just a standard Zoom whiteboard. Now, the third piece around trying to figure out what in affordance within the student's setting I could engage, I just didn't spend a lot of time coming up with an approach there, and I think that actually hurt the activity. As you can see here in this picture, the whiteboard kind of worked. Some students typed, some students wrote things by hand, but it just didn't lend itself at all to doing small sketches. Doing that with a mouse on a Zoom whiteboard just didn't work at all, so I just stopped the activity before I even got there. So in this activity, I think I didn't actually do a good job thinking through what I could use within the students' settings to help them take advantage of the fact that they were remote. So the idea of maybe sketching on paper and taking a picture and then uploading it, and then collaboratively using a tool like Miro perhaps to lay out pictures and sticky notes and do a word web brainstorming. I think there's opportunities there based on the tools that are available. So unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the pandemic is nearing an end anytime soon. So I think that we're going to need to consider how we move engaged visualization activities to an online domain. I think these 3 guiding principles, namely keeping in mind what you want people to learn, what the tech can help you with, and how you activate the learner's physical space, can be really useful guidances. And I hope that these 2 case studies give an example of how they can be put into play in existing activities that you might have in your teaching. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Aspen Hopkins. I'm at the MIT Visualization Lab.
And I'm Natalie Vladis, a lecturer in biomedical informatics at Harvard Medical School.
And we're here to tell you about a workshop we led in January of this year. But January feels like a lifetime ago, where we made things like this, and this, and this, and even a sonification. These are all examples of something we're calling data crafting. Why data crafting? Data and data visualization are intimidating because data feels complex and austere. And that, combined with visualization's rhetorical force, makes data and its communication unapproachable. Even experts have difficulty playing with data. And we wanted to change that, to make data approachable for novices and to build a space where experts can explore new facets of their data. Craft and play felt like the best way to do this. That's where data crafting comes from. The focus of data crafting is on sensorial explorations without specific agenda. We think of data crafting as either adjacent to or a subset of data physicalization, where the focus is on the process of doing, of playing with your hands, and experiencing with all 5 senses and normalized. We led our data crafting workshop with that in mind, and Natalie will now describe our specific learning goals.
As we were planning the workshop, we used backwards design to create activities based on learning objectives we set out for our participants. We hoped that by the end of the workshop, they would be able to identify the benefits of incorporating crafts and playing to describe different types of data encodings used in visualization and physicalization, which would give them some context and ideas on how to plan their crafts. Discuss the origin of crafting. What is it? Why do people do it? How do they do it? Lastly, use everything they learned from class activities to create their own data crafts. At this point, we would like to take some time to take you through an overview of our day. We started with an icebreaker that also served as a creative primer. We then took participants through a tour of case studies. We will show you some examples in a moment. Then, we experimented with some activities. The most popular example was the impromptu kitchen jam band, where we used pots and pans to sonify a little dataset we assembled in class. For our capstone, participants had the opportunity to create their own projects, putting together everything they learned in class. Lastly, we gave participants a survey to gauge their impressions. Here are some examples of the case studies we saw in class. We discussed Bach's stone baskets, as well as Vicinance's Higgs boson song, Moere choose data jellos, as well as my very own data quilt that I made using data from the Climatic Research Unit at the University of East Anglia. Since I knew how it was made, we used this opportunity to discuss an example of a process, giving participants ideas and inspiration as we prepare them for their capstone. In the interest of time, we gave our participants access to Boston weather data, which included temperature, humidity, and wind information, and they also had the option to combine some example of productions. When we collected the survey outcomes, we found that planning presented some difficulties as projects continuously evolved due to their exploratory nature. The imprecise nature of the materials forced them to think more creatively about communicating concepts such as time and proximity, which can sometimes be quite abstract. Operating in the data crafting framework made it easier for workshop attendees to ask novel questions.
Our general takeaways from the data crafting workshop were: people love data crafting. Everyone from first-year business students to machine learning postdocs were able to get their hands dirty with data. Data crafting has been used for teaching data and IP at MIT, and elementary students the basics of data visualization. Read more in our paper and feel free to use the associated slide deck for your own purposes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Johanna Bayer. I will talk about design sprints for online and on-campus. So design sprints are group projects that are time-constrained, interdisciplinary, and heavily based on rapid prototyping and testing with customers. And the aim is to define goals quickly, validate ideas before starting costly development. And exactly this well-defined design cycle makes design sprints very promising for teaching project-based courses. So in this talk, I want to quickly outline how we run design sprints in our VIS classes at Harvard University. And one of our main premises is that we really want to increase student engagement in class and allow students to gain hands-on experience based on the concepts that we cover in class. Originally, a design sprint has 5 steps, where each step is run in 1 day. So you complete a design sprint in 1 week. And we've adjusted design sprints to fit our semester-long courses, but we've also used it for 2-day workshops. And one thing that's important in comparison to normal design sprints where you have these 5 predefined steps, we also stress the importance of iteration in visualization design and ask students to document their process. We also have added a wrap-up step where basically students complete their submission, create a 2-minute video showing their project, and fill out peer evaluations. The way we run design sprints in semester-long courses is that we have 2 separate design sprints. The first one is a guided project that we run in the first 8 weeks of the semester. The second one is a more independent final capstone project. And in the guided project, what we do is that Every lecture, the last 30 minutes of lecture are reserved for the design sprint, where we assign groups and give them predefined data sets and ask them to do one step of the design sprint every week. Teaching assistants are around to give immediate feedback directly in class, because that is super important, especially at the beginning of the semester when students don't have a lot of experience in visual design. In the capstone project, the design sprint is run more independently, where students work outside of class. They can choose their own groups and their own data set, and the implementation is done in D3 as compared to Tableau for the guided project. So here's just an example of the result of one capstone project, where on the left side you see the process book where they have their sketches and their initial storytelling ideas, and on the right there are some screenshots of the actual interactive visualization. For online classes, the main concepts of design sprints stay the same, but there are some slight adjustments that we do. So for example, we run our guided project synchronously, so we ask students to be there at the same time. However, we offer 2 different lecture times to support students in different time zones. We also use a couple of online collaborative tools. So in our case, we use Zoom, Google Docs, and Google Jamboard. We have limited the number of tools we use so to not overwhelm our students. Another important thing is to provide very clear and written instructions so that students can always look up the instructions, and to be aware that we have to schedule more time for online collaboration because it takes a little bit more time than collaborating in person. And then finally, here are some takeaways, what we've learned since we started using design sprints. So on the one hand, we are really happy that students can now immediately apply what they learned in class, and we see a very high student engagement and also a high project quality. Things to be aware of is that frequent feedback is really essential. So you really need to have teaching assistants or teaching staff walk around or online check in with your students and leave comments in their Google Docs. There's also a trade-off between adding design sprints to your class and covering more material. So we on purpose removed some of the material that we used to cover to have more time for the design sprints. And one other thing that we noticed is that because this process is so guided, and especially when giving them the same data set to all students and using Tableau in the first guided project, is that we get more uniform looking projects. And that might not be a bad thing, but still we counter this by encouraging students to come up with more creative solutions during the semester. So on the next slide, there are some examples of that. So that's all the time I have. Please check out our material online. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for the speakers and those presentations. Very interesting work. We have some questions, so we'll do some question and answers taken from the Miro board, and I'll try and keep my eye on the Discord channel as well. So I think we'll go in order. So Raoul, very, very nice. I hope all your presentations for your students are like that, with the music in the background. And I was thinking, what were your students' attitude? Did they change? Were they pleased to go online? Did they like to go online? Did they make suggestions for improvements? So what were their thoughts?
Yeah, no, thank you. Welcome back to my garage. The students, this was in the spring, right? So there's a certain amount, I think, of every educator experienced that shared trauma that they were experiencing. So they were happy to sort of, especially with the sculpture one, they were happy about the chance to sort of be in their space, but also be online. They were, I think, in the spring, they were a lot more shell-shocked by sort of teachers trying lots of different things, very much with a, hey, let's try this attitude. This fall, I find them much more at the undergraduate level oriented to, hey, okay, we're doing things online, I get it. And now their expectations are different, I think. and they definitely made suggestions for things, but I also feel like the bar was pretty low. There's a lot of, I think we are a self-selecting group of educators that think about how we educate. There's a lot of educators that are just doing a lecture online. So I think the bar was pretty low. So anything I found, anything interactive, they responded really positively.
Yeah, so I know from my own experience, we have to think differently when we go online, and I think it's really good that you're thinking about these ideas, and we need to be challenged how we take our activities online, and this perhaps this is one of the things that we can discuss later. It's not easy. I know Sheila on yesterday was talking about using Lego at one of her activities. You can't get everyone to buy lots of Lego or other tools like that. So how cheap were your tool? You said you were using things around the house, was it?
Yeah, this was, I mean, I had students pulling stuff out of the recycling bins. So it's definitely designed for a wide variety of sort of socioeconomic income statuses, or many of them were in places that they don't have access to stuff. So if we do stuff, even sketching, you know, like a lot of students, I mean, don't have access to like, you know, markers and a bunch of different paper. So we have to be very careful about the assumptions we make about student resources when we're in online settings, unless we can mail them kits, which I'm thinking about doing in the spring.
Yeah, that's definitely a solution that we've had to sort of perhaps to mail them Arduinos or things like that, maybe that we can subsidize. Yeah, which I think that leads really on to the next talk on data crafting. So Aspen and Natalie, it was really interesting to hear about your thoughts. We have a question here. Could you tell us, or perhaps a bit more about how students switched from maybe being reserved if they were in a room with other people to being perhaps a bit more free or creative? Could you tell us a bit more about that? Did you find that out, that students were better and more productive in their own way?
Yeah, so one of the things that we really wanted to emphasize with the workshop was this concept of play, partially because one of the biggest differences with working with children versus working with adults is that sense of playfulness. Adults are very uncomfortable with letting loose and being vulnerable around mistakes in particular. And we wanted to encourage mistakes. And so what we did was set up icebreakers. And we actually did multiple of these. Natalie pointed to a really cute one, which was the blob game. The other one that we did was actually trash sculpting. So we did take things from the trash can and we sculpted with them. And it was through that process that over time, people started having more comfortable conversations. They became really engaged with it. There was a lot of sensorial things that happened. And by the end of the entire process, at that point, everyone was probably exhausted. They had smelled things, they had tasted things. You know, there was just so much going on that they finally just, you know, you can't really be pretentious after that. So, and I think that was the most wonderful thing was everyone was so excited that they wanted to continue doing sessions again and again after this, to just build on their own data sets and to do a similar exploration process on their own. Did that answer your question? I'm sure Natalie has.
Yeah. Natalie, do you want to add anything?
Oh, I mean, Aspen phrased it really well. It's true. And that was the entire goal of having the blobs. And we had them work with each other's blob as well. So they drew on the blob and then the other person had to make a story about the other person. So they worked together since the beginning. But also from experience from having seen this kind of events and activities, it's kind of like also building confidence. Usually reserved people are the ones that feel not as confident. But as they hone a new craft, a new skill, and they see they're actually quite good at it and like they're enjoying it, they build confidence up and you see them really get out of their shell. Sorry, as time goes by.
How did you deal with data? I mean, did you give them the data? Did you clean the data, or how was it a lot of data? I mean, what was that?
So the data set we gave them during the workshop, exactly for the reasons I think Jonathan asked the question, pointed out, it would take a lot of time for them to clean it. So we provided them with a data set that was clean, but that had a lot of different bits of information and they had to sort through what they want to keep. And this is because we only had a day. So the Boston weather had like wind and temperatures and how sunny it was and how cloudy. So they got to keep whatever they were interested in, and they also got to add their own data set. For example, one of our participants added her screen time to the weather to see if there was anything interesting, and there was, so that was nice to see. But for longer initiatives that are not exactly the same, so we didn't describe them in the paper, so that would span over over several days or months or weeks, we make sure that participants have access to assistance if they need help with cleaning their data set or eliminating values or extrapolating. So in this case, because we didn't have time, we give them something that was pretty ready to work with.
Cool. Can I move on to Swaroop? Are you there?
Yeah.
There's a sort of, I was interested in your sort of idea of improvisation. And I have a sort of a thought. I think it's very good to hear your ideas on this because it's different. It's let us loose. But I have a sort of question that sort of, in a way, you are proposing a process. In one hand, you're saying, it's not a process. I want to go away from all the visualization process. But actually, improvisation is a process. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
So whatever the idea was, that it's getting rid of all processes, getting rid of predefined processes. Idea was to keep the is it audible now?
That's better, yes.
Yeah. So basically, the idea was that we thought that students actually do what they see the teacher to do, not what the teacher tells them to do. So this idea actually came from me demonstrating an activity rather than telling students what to do. So I just showed them I did a data visualization myself, right? And I told students to imitate. And to be honest, this comes from a bit of how teaching has been in a country like India, where imitation is actually revered. People learn by imitation. So improvisation actually comes from that. You imitate and then you take your own way. So it is a process. It's it's a contradiction. It is a process, and at the same time, it's not a process. Just like jazz. You can't call that right or wrong. There is a melody. There are notes. But so yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see how you develop that idea and take it further forward and maybe put a structure onto that to help people and guide people. Talking about guidelines and guidelines for visualization, I think that's a really good way to start. Let's move on. We've got a question for a few questions for Johanna now on design sprints. So could you tell us, there's a question about do design sprints involve sketching by hand? And if so, how do they work online? Could you tell us a bit more about that process and sketching maybe?
Sure, yeah, great question. So design sprints do involve sketching by hand, or we at least really want students to sketch initial ideas by hand. What we do is that we use Google Docs and say they sketch by hand and then just take a picture with their phone and upload it on Google Docs. So the first time we do that, it might take some time for students to figure that out, but they get pretty good and pretty fast at it. And also when they collaborate in their teams, we ask them to basically just scan or take a picture of their sketches and upload it.
Yeah, so I do a design sketch course and they sketch, they show it up with their pages and we have a discussion over that. Yeah, it's good doing that. I think we need to, I'm not sure that sort of sketching boards are necessarily up to the scratch to do some of these works. So maybe we need a visualization sketching board, something that will help us. Got another question about the tools. So you have, you use, was it Tableau in some of the places, and then talked in the paper about not always using Tableau and then maybe using some other things. Could you tell us a bit more what's appropriate, what software is appropriate for different things?
Right, so we make it dependent on if we teach a longer course, like a semester-long course, or just a 2-day workshop or something like that. So in our semester-long course, In the first guided project, we usually start with Tableau because we teach students D3 over the course of the semester, but at the beginning, they're clearly not at a point where they would be able to implement any of their sketches in D3. So that's why we say in the first part of the semester, in the first sprint, we use Tableau because that's kind of quicker and easier to learn. And it also gives them a nice introduction to Tableau, which they might use later again in life when they work at a company. And then for the second capstone project, we go back to D3 because during the semester we've taught them D3 and then they do that in D3. In our 2-day workshops, we have used Tableau so far, which we also found actually quite challenging in just 2-day workshops. And then there we are actually thinking of going back to just hand sketching and just doing hand-drawn sketches for that.
Okay, well, thanks very much, all the presenters. There's a virtual hand clap to everyone, so thanks very much. And well done for your presentation. Well done for answering all these questions. And there's a few more online. So we're in a second, we will take a break. But before we do, I want to challenge everyone who's listening to think up challenges. What challenges do we have in teaching visualization, VisActivities? We want to hear from you. Put those challenges on the Miro board, and we can then take them and we will have an interactive discussion session. And we want you back. So do come back in about half an hour's time, where we will have an activity. We will break out into groups. We will have discussions, and we want you to be involved. We want you to commit to the time when you come back. So keep up the challenges, have your break, and we'll see you back in about half an hour. Thanks so much.
Tableau helps you see the stories in your data. It's designed to help you be smarter, so you can make better decisions faster. With Tableau, you can keep on asking questions in the data until you discover the root cause. Share your analysis securely. Your entire organization can access these interactive dashboards from any browser or mobile device to find their own answers. Tableau. Answer questions at the speed of thought.
We have seen many visualizations for tree data structures, but when showing changes in trees over time, some focus on displaying hierarchy, while others highlight their changes. With split streams, we combine two approaches and their individual benefits. We evaluated our method in a user study and consider it a general-purpose method for the visualization of dynamic hierarchies. Our JavaScript library is openly available.
How do you visualize the nanoscale, 1 billionth of a meter, for the public? As part of a Science Center exhibition, we developed an immersive environment that explains nanoconcepts by allowing users to explore nanoproperties. We reflect on how exploration, the confluence of explanatory and exploratory visualization, can be applied to visualization in public spaces.
We present the first generic design space and library for visual piling. Inspired by physically piling paper documents, visual piling describes an interface for spatial organization of visual artifacts into piles of partially overlapping items. Piling affords interactive grouping, arrangement, previewing, browsing, and aggregation to reduce the complexity and support comparison of large collections of small multi.
Out-of-distribution samples refer to the test samples not well covered by the training data, like these black cats. They are misclassified with high confidence due to their black bodies. To explain why these samples are out of distribution, we developed OOD Analyzer, a visual analytics tool which provides an ensemble detection method and a grid-based visualization to detect and analyze out-of-distribution samples.
Program developers spend significant time on optimizing and tuning applications. But working with binary code to understand what compiler optimizations were applied can be challenging. We present our visual analytics system, CCNAV, designed to identify and assess compiler optimizations in binary code. Check out our paper to learn more.
We present NL4DV, a toolkit that helps prototype natural language interfaces for data visualizations. NL4DV provides a high-level Python API for interpreting natural language queries. The API automates the core tasks of processing natural language queries to infer relevant information and determine appropriate visualizations, allowing visualization developers to focus more on designing and implementing the user interface.
As data is changing, our understanding of data should be updated correspondingly. Based on machine learning approaches, we formulate a drift-level index to monitor the evolution of multi-source data, which allows users to capture and reason significant changes from time series data. The proposed visual analytics system is called Concept Explorer. More details can be found in our talk.
With the proliferation of AutoML systems, it's now easier than ever for non-experts to create and deploy end-to-end machine learning pipelines. These systems explore the model search space and optimize hyperparameters in order to solve a particular task. We propose Pipeline Profiler, a tool that enables the exploration and comparison of machine learning pipelines produced by multiple AutoML systems. By analyzing these pipelines, we have the opportunity to better understand how AutoML systems work and obtain insights that can be used to improve them.
We present TransVis, a design study that is proposed to analyze and integrate close and distant reading of multiple translations. TransVis presents the overview of the collection to capture global patterns that is facilitated by the ADM-VIV matrix. TransVis integrates a detailed view to explore interesting path of alignments. We also propose the TLC view to examine and explore the terms of the user-selected path to justify and reason the AD analysis.
Attention mechanisms have greatly improved the performance of many language models, yet with great power comes increased complexity. In this work, we present attention flows, a visualization that lets users interpret the language model's decisions and gain insights into the underlying self-attention mechanism. We also support model comparison that helps to fill the gaps between models in different training stages.
We propose a new semi-automatic method that uses topological features to guide users in tracing neurons, and integrate this method within a virtual reality framework. We use the Moore-Smell complex to find a set of candidate neuron arcs. The candidate arcs are integrated into a VR neuron tracing system and exposed through our Moore-Smell complex guided semi-automatic tracing tool. The topological ridge graph underlying our MSC guided tool is robust against gaps in the signal.
CMed is a visual analytics framework for exploring medical image data annotations acquired from crowdsourcing. CMed can be used to visualize, classify, and filter crowdsourced clinical data based on a number of different metrics such as detection rate, logged events, and clustering of the annotations. CMed provides several interactive linked visualization components to analyze the crowd results for a particular video and the associated workers.
Taylor-Coyer flows is a turbulent fluid motion created in the gap between the two rotating cylinders. The traditional reason-based methods are only able to capture the small-scale coherent structure. The detection of the large structure depends on the 2D cross-section, which is not the true configuration. We adapt the feature-level set methods and the density estimation to combine multiple attributes and use them as the filter to separate large and small-scale structure.
CarxS is an authoring system which enables rapid creation of zooming-based scatter plot-like visualizations in just tens of lines of JSON. We contribute a declarative grammar for such visualizations, which captures a large design space. By working with multi-node database spatial indexes, Arran enables interactive browsing of billions of data points. Come listen to our talk to learn more.
Tableau helps you see the stories in your data. It's designed to help you be smarter, so you can make better decisions faster. With Tableau, you can keep on asking questions in the data until you discover the root cause. Share your analysis securely. Your entire organization can access these interactive dashboards from any browser or mobile device to find their own answers. Tableau. Answer questions at the speed of thought.
Digital humanities present great opportunities for testing new visualization approaches and evaluation techniques. However, and given the diffuse character and novelty of the field, it may also be intimidating for novel and senior researchers willing to get started in the discipline. In this paper, we propose a data-driven analysis of visualization for the digital humanities to identify key themes, authors, and relevant publications. So if you want to know more, please read our paper.
Text alignment is a fundamental technique in many text-related domains. In this survey, we cover 3 text alignment scenarios: collation task, text reuse detection, and translation alignment. On the basis of those scenarios, we reviewed the existing text alignment visualization approaches and discussed their advantages and drawbacks. We finally derived design implications and shed light on related future challenges.
We asked participants to recreate bar graphs. When the bar was alone, we saw a different pattern of error than when the bar was presented with context in a stacked bar graph. We find that absolute error increased for higher bars when they were presented alone. We also found that there was a bias in the responses such that they were repulsed from an implicit 50% mark. We found a magic number, 10%, to predict error. Participants are usually within 10% of the height of the bar.
As commonly known, dimensionality reduction techniques and their interpretations are complex, biased, and uncertain. In drug design, this highly complicates the search for similar and new chemical compounds. To overcome this issue, Canva brings comparison of different molecular descriptors and properties into one tool, featuring planar, 3D, and table views for evaluating the trustworthiness of high-dimensional data projection.
Imagine you have tons of text data to analyze. And you want to get an overview of your data, but traditional topping modeling techniques such as LDA are not working for you. Then, why don't you try Architext? We introduced a scalable and flexible way to interactively build hierarchical topics.
Tableau helps you see the stories in your data. It's designed to help you be smarter, so you can make better decisions faster. Connect to the data you care about. Sort, highlight, drill down, or filter your data in seconds. Add calculations to extend your data. With Tableau, you can keep on asking questions in the data until you discover the root cause. Tableau. Answer questions at the speed of thought.
Do these 3 essays construct their argumentation similarly? Where in this table of argumentation data from the previously seen texts can I find certain argumentation patterns? Do these 3 argument maps depict the same argument? We have developed a visual analysis system for argumentation in essays that can answer these questions at a glance. You want to know how it works? Come to my talk.
Visualizing class separations is used in applications such as classification and clustering. However, many dimension reduction techniques are limited due to the issues of separability and interpretability. We propose a visual analytics framework to support the exploration of nonlinear complex separation structures with the power of locally linear separations.
String graphs are variants of stack graphs with curve-based line, and the main factor affecting its readability is the sign allurance through a perceptual inconsistency of the orthogonal and vertical direction. Aiming at reducing its impacts, we revisited the baseline formulation and proposed the concept of composition to help the string graph layout optimization. The result shows that our algorithms perform better than the others.
With the proliferation of AutoML systems, it's now easier than ever for non-experts to create and deploy end-to-end machine learning pipelines. These systems explore the model search space and optimize hyperparameters in order to solve a particular task. We propose Pipeline Profiler, a tool that enables the exploration and comparison of machine learning pipelines produced by multiple AutoML systems. By analyzing these pipelines, we have the opportunity to better understand how AutoML systems work and obtain insights that can be used to improve them.
In this study, we designed a system named Causality Explorer to facilitate the causal analysis. Users can explore the causal graph to perceive the causality and its uncertainty, validate the causality with the raw data, and apply the confirmed causality to what-if analysis.
Linking and brushing is very useful for interactive visual data exploration. Data-driven brushing tools are getting popular recently and achieve good results, for example the Mahanoda-based brush and the CNN-based brush. However, these brushing tools are optimized by the data from a large number of users, which are not suitable for everyone. In this paper, we introduce an adaptive brush model which takes the user in a loop to improve the brushing accuracy.
Text alignment is a fundamental technique in many text-related domains. In this survey, we cover 3 text alignment scenarios: collation task, text reuse detection, and translation alignment. On the basis of those scenarios, we reviewed the existing text alignment visualization approaches and discussed their advantages and drawbacks. We finally derived design implications and shed light on related future challenges.
We propose a new semi-automatic method that uses topological features to guide users in tracing neurons, and integrate this method within a virtual reality framework. We use the Moore-Smell complex to find a set of candidate neuron arcs. The candidate arcs are integrated into a VR neuron tracing system and exposed through our Moore-Smell complex guided semi-automatic tracing tool. The topological ridge graph underlying our MSC guided tool is robust against gaps in the signal.
Hands-on cybersecurity training represents a domain where visual analytics can significantly improve the impact of teaching process. We describe this new application domain and introduce a conceptual model that can serve as a framework for the development of analytical visualizations. Unified training lifecycle will be discussed from the perspective of different user roles.
When developing a deep learning model, people typically struggle to optimize hyperparameters that affecting the model performance. To relieve the pain of this manual trial process, AutoML has been developed as a solution. However, to maximize the potential of the AutoML, people should identify a good AutoML setting for their task. Hypertendry helps to maximize the potential by visualizing AutoML algorithm behavior and guiding effective hyperparameters.
If machine learning were like education, we would like to test what concepts our student, the model, has learned. Has it learned the concept of object rotation? Does additional text help with object recognition? We need a methodology and platform for conducting such tests. In this paper, we present a novel visual analytics tool that enables hypothesis-based evaluation of machine learned models.
We present the first generic design space and library for visual piling. Inspired by physically piling paper documents, Visual piling describes an interface for spatial organization of visual artifacts into piles of partially overlapping items. Piling affords interactive grouping, arrangement, previewing, browsing, and aggregation to reduce the complexity and support comparison of large collections of small multiples.
CMed is a visual analytics framework for exploring medical image data annotations acquired from crowdsourcing. CMed can be used to visualize, classify, and filter crowdsourced clinical data based on a number of different metrics such as detection rate, logged events, and clustering of the annotations. CMed provides several interactive linked visualization components to analyze the crowd annotation results for a particular video and the associated workers.
The classifier trained on the historical data may fail to classify the incoming data when the data distribution is changing. This phenomenon is called concept drift. To handle the concept drift, we developed Drift VIS, a visual analytics system to help the expert understand when, where, and why the drift happens, and update the model to improve performance.
Scatter plots and parallel coordinates are widely used for visualizing multivariate discrete data. However, for multivariate continuous data, the continuous scatter plots and continuous parallel coordinates are more suitable. In this work, we extend them to uncertain data. Additionally, we also extend fibers to uncertain data. If you are interested, come to our presentation.
Position is believed to be the most precise encoding channel, but our perception and memory of it can still be biased. Past work has shown that the vertical position of bars in a bar chart is recalled in a biased manner, illustrating both an underestimation and overestimation bias of position. Here we find that the aspect ratios of the bar marks can cause this position bias, specifically resulting in overestimation for bars with wide ratios and underestimation for bars with tall ratios.
Tableau helps you see the stories in your data. It's designed to help you be smarter, so you can make better decisions faster. With Tableau, you can keep on asking questions in the data until you discover the root cause. Share your analysis securely. Your entire organization can access these interactive dashboards from any browser or mobile device to find their own answers. Tableau. Answer questions at the speed of thought.
We have seen many visualizations for tree data structures, but when showing changes in trees over time, some focus on displaying hierarchy, while others highlight their changes. With split streams, we combine two approaches and their individual benefits. We evaluated our method in a user study and consider it a general-purpose method for the visualization of dynamic hierarchies. Our JavaScript library is openly available.
Out-of-distribution samples refer to the test samples not well covered by the training data, like these black cats. They are misclassified with high confidence due to their black bodies. To explain why these samples are out of distribution, we developed OOD Analyzer, a visual analytics tool which provides an ensemble detection method and a grid-based visualization to detect and analyze out-of-distribution samples.
White space surfaces are a novel approach to convey depth in vessel visualizations. The core idea is to shift all additional depth cues away from geometry and to use the usually empty space between the vascular structures. This allows us to display functional parameters on the surface and supporting cues on the background. We will explain how to generate such surfaces and how to use them as a canvas to further enhance depth and shape perception.
We
present VisActivities, a tool for visualizing hypergraphs where edges can connect any number of nodes. VisActivities is the first technique to display hyperedges with no overlap or crossing. Vertices are represented as rows, time periods flow from left to right, and groups can be shown on the left. We designed the layout for readability. VisActivities shines with mid-size hypergraphs and it allows detailed analysis. We tested VisActivities successfully using publication datasets and data from historical documents.
Entities and their changing relationships can be modeled more precisely as temporal hypergraphs, but hypergraph models are difficult to explore and refine. By leveraging domain-specific geometric deep learning models and a new multi-level hypergraph visualization, our technique allows for the direct integration of domain knowledge into the machine learning process. The multivariate hypergraph model structure can be analyzed on different abstraction levels. Simultaneously, experts can integrate their domain knowledge on the fly, and then explore the refined machine learning model.
Deep neural networks are vulnerable to maliciously generated adversarial examples. This brings high risk in applying these networks to safety-critical applications. We developed a visual analytics approach to explain the root cause of such wrong predictions. Our contribution contains a constrained datapath extraction method, a river-based visualization, and a contribution analysis method.
We asked participants to recreate bar graphs. When the bar was alone, we saw a different pattern of error than when the bar was presented with context in a stacked bar graph. We found that absolute error increased for higher bars when they were presented alone. We also found that there was a bias in the responses such that they were repulsed from an implicit 50% mark. We found a magic number, 10%, to predict error. Participants are usually within 10% of the height of the bar.
Tableau helps you see the stories in your data. It's designed to help you be smarter, so you can make better decisions faster. Connect to the data you care about. Sort, highlight, drill down, or filter your data in seconds. Add calculations to extend your data. With Tableau, you can keep on asking questions in the data until you discover the root cause. Tableau, answer questions at the speed of thought.
Pixel Clipper allows visitors to quickly and expressively extract visual clippings from visualizations and add comments to them. The clippings are useful for engaging the public with complex datasets because they are entry points into the visualization. This can be applied in a wide range of engagement experiences, such as the use of facilitated and ambient displays at public engagement events.
Several recent studies advocated the use of non-parametric density models for the improved characterization of data uncertainty. The non-parametric models, however, present the challenges such as increased memory and computational requirements. In this work, we propose an efficient non-parametric framework for volume rendering in the context of uncertain data and show their effectiveness in classifications via comparisons with the other statistical models.
Program developers spend significant time on optimizing and tuning applications. But working with binary code to understand what compiler optimizations were applied can be challenging. We present our visual analytics system, CCNAV, designed to identify and assess compiler optimizations in binary code. Check out our paper to learn more.
How do you visualize the nanoscale, 1 billionth of a meter, for the public? As part of a Science Center exhibition, we developed an immersive environment that explains nanoconcepts by allowing users to explore nanoproperties. We reflect on how exploration, the confluence of explanatory and exploratory visualization, can be applied to visualization in public spaces.
We present TransVis, a design study that is proposed to analyze and integrate close and distant reading of multiple translations. TransVis presents the overview of the collection to capture global patterns that is facilitated by the ADM-VIF matrix. TransVis integrates a detailed view to explore interesting path of alignments. We also propose the TLC view to examine and explore the terms of the user-selected path to justify and reason the AD analysis.
Tableau helps you see the stories in your data. It's designed to help you be smarter, so you can make better decisions faster. With Tableau, you can keep on asking questions in the data until you discover the root cause. Share your analysis securely. Your entire organization can access these interactive dashboards from any browser or mobile device to find their own answers. Tableau. Answer questions at the speed of thought.
Attention mechanisms have greatly improved the performance of many language models. Yet with great power comes increased complexity. In this work, we present attention flows, a visualization that lets users interpret the language model's decisions and gain insights into the underlying self-attention mechanism. We also support model comparison that helps to fill the gaps between models in different training stages.
In our current work, we visually compare two cohorts of segmented and classified tissue images, originated from single-cell omics data. To that end, we developed data-driven and interactive workflow implemented in a multi-linked view system. Finally, we show the effectiveness of our workflow through specific case studies.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our second part of our workshop. And yeah, now this is the time for activities, and this is what we planned for now. We wanted to have an hands-on activity and get into groups, like in different tables, invent in activities, have hands-on workshop, try out anything with pen and papers and everything, and coffee and discussions. But yeah, this was the plan before the whole COVID-19 situation started. So now we have another concept and use Zoom and the Miro board. And we will have now, we collected already in the first part of our workshop different challenges. And as you can see on the Miro board, there are many of them, more than we expected. So we try to sort and group them a bit to create different breakout rooms. And yeah, now we will start just to choose a session or a challenge and then discuss this in a breakout session and then present this to the whole group. So for now, who wants to join this discussion? Come and join our Zoom meeting, because the breakout sessions can't be streamed live. And what is the task in each breakout session? So you just find a room, then yeah, introduce yourself shortly and also mention which data VIS activities you're using. And then discuss your challenges. What is the challenges? How we could address it? And for example, for an activity. And then in the last 5 minutes, prepare a brief presentation. So I just would switch to the Miro board. As you can see here, so much happened during the break already. So we try to cluster them in different groups, and we put the names here and just also put the sticky notes here. You can also talk about these ones. And then you have free space to create whatever you want, to make drawings, to put sticky notes, to upload pictures if you have something in mind. And just to discuss this certain challenge. You will also see here in each board, you see the 3 steps, like a short introduction, just 30 seconds, and then you have time to discuss the challenge and prepare the presentation, which we want to do in the last half hour of the workshop. So now we will create different breakout rooms. I will just, I'm fine now, I can stop the sharing. And are these breakout rooms there already? We created, of each topic, we created 2 breakout rooms in case we are too full, but it makes more sense to have a second one. And yeah, now it's your time to go to the Miro board and check what is interesting for you, which challenge you want to discuss. And yeah, go to the meeting room, to the breakout room as soon as they are created.
Okay. I don't see the breakout rooms, I guess.
Me neither. So just as a question, will they appear?
Nope.
Yes, it is. It is at the bottom of the Zoom call.
I don't.
If you go to the bottom of the Zoom call where it says stop video and chat, etc., there should be a square rectangular icon saying breakout rooms.
No.
It's there. I see it.
I don't.
If you click on that, it pops up with a pop-up, and then you can select which one you go into.
So I noticed that there's like a 1 and 2, and are they different or are they the same thing?
It's the same topic. Try to fill the first, and then in case you're too many, like 10, 12 people in one room, it would be makes more sense to split in 2 groups. So it's easier to discuss. So number 2s are always back up. But
I
for
do
now
not
you
see
can.
this block. I don't know what the rooms are called. I guess I could go to the Miro board and find out.
There.
I don't see the list.
It's the breakout rooms have the same name like in the Miro board, like how to do activities online. Repositories is the second. Evaluation is the third topic. Participants, the fourth. Good or bad practices and types of activities. These 5 topics we have. Six, sorry.
Okay. I'll go to
So when we're going into the breakout room, one of the things I noticed is that it used to be that if you double clicked on it, you joined it. Now it doesn't seem to do that.
Well, I still don't
I guess
see
you
this
just
box.
go to join on the link on the right side.
Yeah, it seems there is a comment from Raoul that says that maybe it's depend on your version on Zoom. You need to be using Zoom 5.3. Myself, I don't see the breakout room on my Zoom. It seems I don't have the good version.
You did update it yesterday. So, so technician, can you assign me to the online one?
Technician, can you assign me to the types of activities, please? That's Lynn speaking. That's very.
Yeah, Tech, can you put me in the online room? I guess room 1. This is John Schwabish. Thank you.
Hi, here's Tatiana. I think I also need a room, or at least I was in a room and now I'm not in the room anymore. And I was in the room with Jonathan as well. Would it be possible? Be the online one. Yeah.
Would you also assign me to the online one, please? Thank you.
Will you assign me to the good, bad practices? This is Aspen. It's me. It's Aspen, yes. No. I wanted good, bad practices.
One there for participants, so it's not that empty.
Hi, may I be moved to types of activities? Okay.
Hello, are we in a breakout room? I don't know. No, I don't know. I just pop into this Zoom call, and are we now in the breakout room already? Okay. So let me introduce myself.
No, you're not in a breakout room yet. You need to go into one. Which one do you want to go in to, Kang-Ting?
I see. Either one is fine for me. I'm just interested in this topic and want to join the activities. So
why don't you go into types of activities 1, Kang-Ting?
Okay, thank you.
Do you know if there is anybody inside
Okay, we're back live, right? So yeah, welcome back in the main room. And yeah, we had now several discussions on the Miro boards, and now we have time that someone of each group can maybe present these challenges, so we can start a bigger group discussion. And yeah, I would just ask someone maybe in group number 1. It was about how to do activities online. This was the biggest group we had. Yeah, can someone?
I can chime in there. This is Rahul.
Yes, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So we had a nice discussion. We had a bunch of people trying to think about like a little therapy for each other about how to do online activities. I'll just touch on a couple of the points that I captured while I was taking light notes and the people wrote down on stickies on the Miro board. We talked a little about what leads to success and how low tech can sometimes be a better approach, like using technology that people know rather than things that might seem more optimized for things. We talked a bit about how to get people to participate, which is generally a problem in classrooms no matter what, and has new challenges online. Some of the responses were about doing more pairing up with people, thinking about the assessment piece of whether their grading is tied to that, producing artifacts to share so they have something to share. We talked about evaluation, which can look different in different settings based on academic or professional dev places. We talked about the challenges as universities go to sort of hybrid solutions of some people in the room and some people online. And that may be the place that some places already are, where places are going. And we talked about how we're teaching and how we get feedback on whether people are confused or stuck. Reading the room, as some might say, is very hard to do in online settings. And some of the responses people shared were around doing async videos that people then actually watch a bunch and they can see that. So doing short video tutorials or explanations, and those are getting reused in asynchronous ways. Other ideas about creating more space to try things out in class. And both of those and all of those tied to the idea that we're all just teaching less content total in academic settings, in these course settings, and we have to be very sensitive to pacing. I think those were the key points that I ran through quickly. There's some notes on our little Miro board. Anyone else can chime in from that group if I left out one of the key points. I enjoyed the discussion.
I think one of the things that I realized when we were about to end our discussion is that we sort of drifted towards a very academic thinking and how to do courses and activities in courses and so on. And I think at least when I started, I had imagined that we would talk more broadly, just to be clear that we did drift in that direction, for good or worse, I don't know.
Did you come up with any ideas of how to make success in virtual teaching?
We solved that. It's in the just, the problem solved, basically. Sheila has all the do you want to have more discussion about that? Or should we go to the next group? I don't know how you want to run this.
I mean, the other thing that came to mind is your thoughts of teaching less content. Is that a deliberate act? Did you talk about deliberately deciding to choose less contact, or is it just a physical, you've just not got time within the session? I don't know. What were your thoughts behind that?
I think it's just that we just don't have time. In fact, at this point, I am still trying to figure out how to get the content I would expect to happen in, and realizing that, yes, that everything is taking longer. And I'm halfway through a course at this point, and I'm not willing yet to think that the end result is going to be less content, but I am realizing that I have not got to where I think I should be at halfway.
I think it's important to acknowledge a piece that hasn't come up in sort of discussions today, is that like we're all in the middle of multiple like crises, whether it be the pandemic or in the US, like an election, like and people like my kids could run in at any time and interrupt me, because they're at home. Like everybody's in the middle of traumatic experiences to various degrees, including our students. So it actually like, yes, that's related to doing less is related to virtual or not, but it's also a general respect in learning environments as I'm doing activities that like I'm trying to realize that sometimes the learning experience is a refuge from what's going on, and sometimes it can't be. And I'm trying to be very cognizant of that in my particular teaching in the United States, where there's like multiple crises roiling, everyone's got different approaches. But I think that's worth saying and recognizing in any learning setting, that you got to acknowledge where people are coming in, and particularly in the US and in my group of learners, they're coming in from a place of like, emotional trauma at a variety of levels.
Thank you for saying that, because I think that there's a sort of a global angst permeating the general way in which we all address this for our lives. And then there are these very specific stresses that our students face. They worry about their funding. They worry about their lives. Maybe their parents are stuck. Maybe they're stuck in some part of the world that they don't want to be, and they can't get back. Canada shut its borders fairly quickly. And so I think that's another reason, quite aside from the travails of getting stuff online that Sheila mentioned, is this issue that we're just all in a difficult place. But particularly, I think our students, we're all fortunate that we have our jobs. And they're requiring just that little bit much more support, but it's not even explicit support, if you know what I mean. It's just a recognition that miasma exists.
And I'd just like to add to that as well. So what I found to be helpful is that I had students poll on if they want, how many classes they want online. So I had some where I would just post stuff online and add some notes where they could read it off of, or else then we would have a few Zoom sessions. So it's not always structured the same way. And I think that really helps. And it increases participation when there is Zoom.
Yeah, I have this phrase, we need to think differently, or we need to teach differently. And I think that's definitely, but it's sort of hit us fast, isn't it? We need to change our ways of teaching very quickly. We had all this prepared material. It doesn't work necessarily online. And the same with activities. It was interesting you made the point about some participants were hesitant over the activities. I think I found that some of my students are different. a different way beforehand extrovert, and vice versa. I've got some who are very extrovert one-to-one, would talk to me, don't say anything online. It's very interesting. Sorry, I think I went there a little while.
So I'm wondering if Natalie or your collaborator could speak to that from your paper that you presented about like when people dove in. If you've done that online, like did people relish the fun? Like was that a key invitation? I feel like in these settings, like creating experiences that can pull people out of the sort of crises they're in and make our learning experiences, our visualization activities, a place that is like a nice bounded space to have fun within is really important as a design criteria. I'm wondering, Natalie, if you guys did your stuff online.
So actually, it's funny. I was supposed to do another workshop at Harvard Medical School a week before we were told to leave HMS, Harvard Medical School. So our plan, we haven't done it yet. I'm happy to keep in touch with you. We're trying to figure out a way to safely package materials and send them to like maybe a small group of people interested, because we have a huge interest. Lots of people want to do these workshops, and we're thinking maybe do groups of 10 and send them little packets of materials, because we have all the materials here available, and see what they can do with it. Or maybe they can collect their own as well. We have like lids and bottle kind of yogurt bits. And if you want, I can stay in touch and tell you what happened.
Yes, would be great. And just before going to the next one, we would also say, because this was asked already, the Miro board will stay online, so you can also leave email addresses to exchange contacts here, and also read the discussion later. And yeah, just to be not so much ahead of time, I would go to the second topic. It was about good and bad practices. Can someone of this group summarize the findings in this discussion? Someone there from this group? Or maybe also good if you already discussed for the other topics, who could summarize it, so we can save some time. Or do we still need some time? Else I would jump to the evaluation first. Is someone here for evaluation?
Sorry, I got muted, so I had to unmute myself first.
Okay. Which group we will present now?
Evaluation.
Okay, great.
So for our group, so other members of the group, if you want to chime in, you are allowed to. I don't want to put words into your mouth, because I have a pretty different impression of evaluation than you do. So one of the things that we did discuss is the impact of COVID in regard to how we design, how we evaluate our study as well at all. And I know that some members of my groups, they use like online method, like for example, something like an online focus group or an online class. But for me, I'm in a different position than other people in the group, is that I don't have a study yet, and I'm in the process of designing a study. So so instead of trying to transition to something else, my position has been like trying to think of what to do to begin with. So I know like some evaluation techniques have been rendered basically undoable by COVID. For example, quick prototyping. Like if I want to prototype something and I want to share quickly with my colleagues, then that becomes much harder. And also we are not allowed to do something in person, which might impact the validity of the study, whether for better or for worse, I don't know yet. And I think that after the pandemic, we should perform some sort of research to find out like how validity of these studies have been impacted by having to do things online. It might be for the better and it might be for the worse. And one of the things that I found during the discussion is that we need to think differently during the time of COVID, and we need to be more creative the way that we pilot and we evaluate our results. And the people who do the evaluation themselves should also be reflecting on themselves as well. Like they should be they cannot just apply things as in protocol anymore. And I think that and from what I heard from other people in the group is that some studies, some more qualitative studies, the result from such studies can still be transferable to, don't necessarily be rendered invalid just because of the COVID. Anyone else from the group? Did I do you justice?
I just want to say something positive. I mean, that in terms of evaluation, being online actually offers digital ways to capture engagement. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily 100% representative, but it does give more options to capture these kind of things. Yeah.
I guess that's all.
That's a good summary. I think one of the points, perhaps otherwise, was the focus groups. A lot of the evaluation we do, we as visualization people, we do on visualization on computer scientists. Maybe we should be thinking that actually there are other people other than computer scientists out there and doing evaluation on them. I know that's not the same in everyone's evaluation, but yeah. We take a very convenient sample in our evaluation. But yeah, we try to be a bit more positive and say, yeah, I mean, there's loads of opportunities for evaluation that we wouldn't have had before, so we should use them. Where are we going next, Mandy?
Okay, then if there's
May I
nothing...
interrupt and ask one question to the group? And were you discussing if you could also maybe do A/B tests or something, or have different groups and do in-group comparison for activities? So if you separate the workshop or whatever, some participants, and then do an activity for group A and do an activity with group B, and if and how the outcomes are different?
I don't think we talked about that so much in the grouping evaluation. One thing we did mention was once you've evaluated something, even if it's a trial on someone, you can't take them as a fresh candidate. So they're coming with knowledge that they've half done that activity. I think within the education world, it's always difficult to do these two groups. One group has it, one group doesn't. So providing they are both going to get the same learning experience at some stage, you'll probably be okay. But you have to weave that into your evaluation. Well, that's my personal answer. But yeah, that's a good point. Where are we going next, Mandy?
Okay. Then we didn't have the group participants, so we will jump to repositories. Is here someone who can start representing the results?
Sure, that would be me. So there was a lot of interest in the actual repositories tag, lots of people plus 1, 2, and 3. So we were talking about the different activities that people in the group have created, and the fact that often they find when they speak to other people that someone else is running an activity that is similar, but they have had to go and reinvent it. So obviously the need for some kind of repository would be useful, especially in teaching circumstances where you don't necessarily have that much time to go and create your own repository. I was talking about the variety of different circumstances in which those are used. Sometimes we're looking specifically at visualization activities, but there are also the need to collect data sets for those activities, and whether you're looking at a repository of different data sets that people can also use in their activities versus perhaps providing activities for collecting that data, because people like to use their own data in visualization activities. So there are quite a lot of different activities that you may want to collect in such a repository. We also talked a little bit about there are repositories in different areas that already exist. So if you take a look at the Miro board there are some some examples that people have put in from different fields where repositories already exist. The basic outcome was that it would be good to start at least collecting a list of people who have activities that they would like to present, but they would like to share with people that they think it would take too much time. A point Sam made that was very good was that actually putting examples of the activities you're running online as a non-zero cost. So Natalie has helpfully created a form that people who have activities they think would be useful to other people, you can go and fill in that form. I think she's going to share it on Discord. We could possibly put it on Miro so that it's accessible, and we'll start collecting up people who want to be involved in creating such a repository, or at least contributing to a repository like that. Feel free to jump in if I missed anything important.
There's a link already in the chat because we wanted to catch you in your excitement now that we're all super excited and wound up. And I'll try to put that in the Discord as we speak. And feel free to send, it's very exploratory and kind of see if we can put anything together.
Great, thank you for sharing the form. And yeah, I guess also in Discord, it would be nice to have the link there. So it's already a good starting point. Is all, anyone wants to add something for this group? Else, or have any questions? Else I jump to the next topic.
I guess the one other thing that we talked about was data, not just activities, but data that it's that are data sets that are useful for certain kinds of things. So we might want to collect links to those as well.
Okay, thank you for, sorry, I was interrupted. Thank you for this group for summarizing everything. And I would jump to the last topic on the Miro board, to types of activities. And is here someone who could summarize the results for us?
Yeah, sure. I can try to summarize the results.
Okay, thank you.
Basically, we started our discussion with like generally listing challenges we encounter when doing activities online. So one thing we discussed in a little bit more detail was about how can we allow students to kind of look over each other's shoulders when they're doing activities. So in class, it's super easy, right? You just kind of walk around or look what other students are doing. Online, that's a little bit more difficult. So we thought about maybe if a joint Miro board could work for that, to kind of give students a little bit more sense what other groups are doing. And then we kind of shifted our discussion and discussed some activities that we're currently doing that we think are working well. I think we listed them in the Miro board. I'm not going to go over all of them in detail right now. And then we again shifted our discussion kind of very related to the repository group, where we were saying like a repository of working activities would be super helpful to have, and that hasn't really been successful in the past. So how can we make it like more encourage users or encourage us to share our activities more. One thing we came up with was also that now, especially with online teaching, we can actually maybe more easily incorporate guest lectures into our classes, where we can now easily reach out and have an expert of one field give a guest lecture in our talks. Yes, if I missed anything from our group, please jump in. Yes, yeah, thank you for summarizing, and this could be maybe also for the last round of the discussion, interesting thing to connect these repository questions, how we can stay in contact with each other, and maybe also collect activities, and maybe also have the workshop next year again. Just before the final discussion, I want to have the last try to jump back to good and bad practices. Is there someone who can summarize this topic so we could cover all of them?
Who was in this breaking room? I think it's good and bad practice too, actually, because good and bad practice one, there is nobody inside it, right?
Yeah, no, it was the second somehow. But is still someone here who was in this group? Okay, then we missed this part, unfortunately. So yeah, this was already an interesting discussion. We still have a bit time left, so especially also to collect ideas, how we can proceed, and how we can stay in touch, also maybe for starting a repository for activities and connecting also different participants of this workshop. And we also want to remind on the special issue we have in spring next year, in April 2021. So we will also post this link to the Discord channel. So it would be also nice to get you involved in this next year. And yeah, Jonathan, Sam, something to add?
Me, I have some question for the crowd, for you actually. I have a question. It's like it's more related to these repository things actually. It's like, if as a person who have done some activity, what would be the way, which would be the ideal way you would like to share online? Or would you like to share that online? Because I find it difficult. I don't know, there is many ways to do it. And I know that probably some of you are really experienced prof with many years of teaching, and you have probably like dozen and dozen of activities that you have used in different contexts, and that could be useful for my lights are switching off. This is smart lights, whatever. So I was wondering, what would be the way you would like to share this activity?
We had just talked about Google Drive or GitHub, but what are some, I mean, if those would be preferences, or do you have other ideas?
Can I also add, feel free to fill out the form, even if you're just interested to know about activities, and we'll try to reach out to you. Maybe we can brainstorm on platforms to segue from Sam's question.
So maybe also I can point out to some people. I know that Sheila, you already told me a lot about some of the activities that you are using in your class, like not in online one, but mostly like in the way you teach. But also, Jason, I read this report from a Dutch tool where you were speaking about different way of teaching, and I think Lynn, you have done also a lot. So I was wondering if we want to know more. Like, I think there is also I have this example. Inside the repository breaking room, at one point, Till start to present one of the activities that he's using, which is asking his student to collect some data. And then I think Laura say, "Oh, I'm doing the same thing, but I'm using at the end I'm doing a totally different things with this result." And then Natalie said, "Oh, I'm using also the same thing. I'm asking people to collect some personal data about themselves, and then I try to teach them from this data different things." So it was really interesting to me that only in a breakout room with just 5 people, we already have 3 persons that starts with this activity of collecting data, either personal or more field study data. And then after that, they are doing something with that. And I'm pretty sure, like, I think right now we have a lot of experienced teachers inside the room that you may have various activities that you can share with, I think, with other. What would be the way you would like to share this activity? And it could be from really technical stuff, as Till was saying, like using GitHub, or maybe freeform, like just doing a Google Doc, or maybe writing a paper, or I don't know. But sometimes for me, what is complicated is the cost of sharing the activity. It's like most of the time I don't do it because I don't have time. I'm like super busy, and I was wondering what would be the ideal way for you.
Can I actually chime in?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was chiming in a quick perspective shift just to offer that actually for me as a consumer of activities rather than an author, like discovery is far more important, right? Like I want to teach, I have a workshop to put together or a class, and I want to do, I know that I need to cover, maybe color use or data cleaning, So for me, I care far more about I find the activities, and then I don't care what like kind of format it's in. Like if it's on your website, wherever, I don't need a standard repository. I actually care far more about the discovery piece of it. So which could be as simple as like me putting a link and 5 tags. So I wanted to offer that shift of perspective as well, that like that could be a different type of resource that might not involve more work for the authors of the activities.
I think the indexing of it's really hard. And, Samuel, you're talking about the fact that a lot of us use similar things. It's because over the years, I don't know about other people, but I'm a total slut about this. It's that someone has something that works really well. I'm going, yes, that works really well. And we may adapt it as we go forward, but it's the community that helps inform us. And then it gets hard to sort of, when I hear, I will remember, oh, I heard a really great thing. Where did I hear it? So for example, Enrico Bertini tweeted something a few weeks ago about a great assignment activity he had where he gets the class to give the instructor an assignment. And I went, that's brilliant. But I just happened to follow Enrico on Twitter, and it's my brain, but it goes off into the ether. So even the idea, as Earl's pointed out, that there's something that we could just say, I just want to do a quick tag search on this. But if it's not easy for us to lodge these references somewhere, we won't do it. I said earlier, I'm great on plans and poor on execution.
I think it's a challenge with a lot of our visualization experience. It's that tacit experience that is hard to explain sometimes. I think this workshop is a step in that direction, isn't it? It's a good way to share some of our experiences and start off. And I think, yes, let's work forward, have another workshop, maybe set up a Slack channel would be good, that we could start chatting and doing something like that. I know it's another channel, but somewhere where we can sort of just quickly post something and have some results. I know I use Slack quite a lot with my students.
The other thing, it's not just about poll, it's also about asking. So somewhere where you can say, I have a really challenging problem I'd like to explore here. Does anyone have a pointer to something that would work? So one of my challenges, for example, is I always get my students, where possible, my graduate students in the Viz classes, to work with external partners, like to get problems from the real world and learn how to work with external partners on developing these. That's very difficult with COVID and remote. So how do you do that? It'd be, so if we had a Slack channel or something like this where we could even post these questions, you can sort of ask your colleagues for suggestions that might help as well, but at the risk of having to maintain too many channels.
I think
One
Jason
thing would be great
Dykes, you had
about
your hand
something
up.
I did is, oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Please go ahead.
I was just saying, I think Jason had his hand up, but I don't know if that's still up.
Yeah, no, I did. I was just Lynn's comment resonated with me because I think it has to be quite serendipitous. I mean, ultimately, we get influences from different areas and come up with things that work for us in our own set of circumstances, with our own students, with the learning needs they have, with the skills we have, with so yeah, somebody said earlier, well, I don't have enough Lego to do that with 200 students, and so we're all kind of constrained, and we fit. It's a design exercise, right? We design something that we think will work and give joy and be informative and stuff, and that design is based upon multiple influences. So I really value these quick little ideas, like Greg's idea he mentioned about masking tape. Yeah, I could use masking tape. I kind of like that idea. I might do that. And I saw Enrico's tweet, and Lynn reacted to it and said, "Oh, wonderful! I could do that." And I just thought, "Oh God, that sounds awful! I couldn't possibly do that. Good luck, Enrico. I'm not capable of that. I mean, no." So I think, but I like receiving information in those kinds of ways. And it reminded me that one thing I used to do at our place at our uni was ask people to spend a minute presenting the best thing they did in teaching that year. And we would get 20 people standing up and giving a minute. And the really nice thing about that was they reflected on what they'd done in the year. It was like, oh my God, I've done nothing good in teaching. And then you think, well, hang on, I must have done something that was at least not awful. And you ended up with 20 people telling us things they'd done. And I kind of used a few of those in my teaching, actually, in different ways. I adapted them to my own kind of circumstances and took them on. So in a way, this session is a bit like that. I've heard a few things, right? I've got the masking tape thing. I might do something with that. And, a couple of other things that have cropped up. But yeah, realistically, I'm not at a phase in my career or life or crisis where I can really do huge amounts of new stuff. I can just manipulate things a little bit based on ideas. So I really like the 1 minute quick fire, what was the best thing I did in teaching this year? And, if I was to ask for anything, I'd love to get a minute video, when somebody just talks out the thing they did this year that they thought worked really well. And I don't really need to know what the outcomes were, what the objectives were, what the class was like, because I can look at that and figure out how and why it might transfer to my context. And I might use about 3 of them if I get 20. And for me, that's the level at which I want to be inspired.
Yeah, that's good. I think also we're losing that serendipitous interaction from going online, because we're missing out on those water cooling and sort of coffee and the nice snacks that Viz would have. We're missing all that. Back to you, Sam.
Yeah, thank you, Jason, for this. I think it could be a kind of a challenge doing this 1 minute things. I really like the idea. It's simple and maybe so. It should end in 5 minutes, right? And we had many other multiple points that we wanted to raise. As Mandy mentioned, there is a special issue, a CGNA special issue, which will be on teaching, and you can send whatever activity if you want to send some of your work. The deadline will be April 18, and you can find it on VisActivity.github.io. I will send the link on the Discord. There is many aspects. So we had a slide basically with, maybe I can share the slide. Just a second. Partager, share. Presentation. Just a second. Up. Present. I'm sorry, I'm trying to partage with all the window. Presenter view. Okay, got it. Tac, partager l'écran. And then, okay, here it is. Okay. Just as not in the good place. Okay, so so there is many other aspects that we wanted to discuss. The first thing is okay. I think if we do this future workshop, maybe we can do a session like Jason suggests, or kind of fast forward session to present. We were thinking about making future workshop also in other conference, such as Sky or TIS. If you are interested, please contact us. So I think we would like to collect activities. There is many ways we can do that. We will figure out. I really like also to discuss about this different possibility of collecting activity from a bottom-up perspective, just asking people what could be collected and then maybe trying to find out how we can structure that. Then there is this question about activity templates. So for myself, I start doing an activity templates. I love cooking, and I love a website with cooking recipe. And I think people that are writing cooking recipe have a huge amount of knowledge on how to structure activities. So I basically copy a little bit of their strategy to present step by step how to make a meal, right? And I think I will share that with you. If you want to criticize this template, I would be really happy. If you want to also edit, change things, I would be really happy. Maybe it's a bit too formal and a bit too bottom up, but I don't know. And then there is this question, which is like the next step for you and for us about this topic. So if you want to fill the forms that have been sent on the Discord and on the discussion, like please feel free to fill it, and we will try to contact you through this form. And we will send you what will happen next from our perspectives. Yeah, initially we thought that we will do that on Miro, but I think the form is better. What next? So yeah, I already spoke about the special issue. This is something that will be really. Yeah, you can send whatever you want, focus on teaching and activities, yeah. And yeah, I think that's all. So I would like to thank everybody and to come today and to exchange all of this information with us. I really like the moment. I hope you learned some things. I learned some. If there is anything, Jonathan or Mandy, that, oh yeah, and there is one thing. I didn't receive yet some message from Benjamin, but I'm pretty sure he will get a baby soon. So that would be the really big and interesting news.
As updated.
I don't have.
Yes, I'd like to just add thank you for participating and engaging with the workshop and being part of the Miro board and using all these different channels. It's been exciting to and sorry not in the same room, but it's been a great activity. Thanks very much.
Yes, thank you
very much.
Thank you very much. And yeah, we trying to collect all the informations now on the board and the Google form, and yeah, hopefully we will have soon a platform where we can discuss all these challenges and questions we discussed today, so we can stay in contact and also plan for a next workshop next year. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
As commonly known, dimensionality reduction techniques and their interpretations are complex, biased, and uncertain. In drug design, this highly complicates the search for similar and new chemical compounds. To overcome this issue, Canva brings comparison of different molecular descriptors and properties into one tool, featuring planar, 3D, and table views for evaluating the trustworthiness of high-dimensional data projection.
Imagine you have tons of text data to analyze. And you want to get an overview of your data, but traditional topping modeling techniques such as LDA are not working for you. Then, why don't you try Architext? We introduced a scalable and flexible way to interactively build hierarchical topics.
Tableau helps you see the stories in your data. It's designed to help you be smarter, so you can make better decisions faster. Connect to the data you care about. Sort, highlight, drill down, or filter your data in seconds. Add calculations to extend your data. With Tableau, you can keep on asking questions in the data until you discover the root cause. Tableau, answer questions at the speed of thought.
Do these three essays construct their argumentation similarly? Where in this table of argumentation data from the previously seen texts can I find certain argumentation patterns? Do these three argument maps depict the same argument? We have developed a visual analysis system for argumentation in essays that can answer these questions at a glance. You want to know how it works? Come to my talk.
Visualizing class separations is used in applications such as classification and clustering. However, many dimension reduction techniques are limited due to the issues of separability and interpretability. We propose a visual analytics framework to support the exploration of nonlinear complex separation structures with the power of locally linear separations.
Synchrone graphs are variants of stack graphs with curve-based line, and the main factor affecting its readability is the sign Lorentz through a perceptual inconsistency of the orthogonal and vertical direction. Aiming at reducing its impacts, we revisited the baseline formulation and proposed the concept of composition to help the synchrone graph layout optimization. The result shows that our algorithms perform better than the others.
With the proliferation of AutoML systems, it's now easier than ever for non-experts to create and deploy end-to-end machine learning pipelines. These systems explore the model search space and optimize hyperparameters in order to solve a particular task. We propose Pipeline Profiler, a tool that enables the exploration and comparison of machine learning pipelines produced by multiple AutoML systems. By analyzing these pipelines, we have the opportunity to better understand how AutoML systems work and obtain insights that can be used to improve them.
In this study, we designed a system named Causality Explorer to facilitate the causal analysis. Users can explore the causal graph to perceive the causality and its uncertainty, validate the causality with the raw data, and apply the confirmed causality to what-if analysis.
Linking and brushing is very useful for interactive visual data exploration. Data-driven brushing tools are getting popular recently and achieve good results, for example the Mahanoda-based brush and the CNN-based brush. However, these brushing tools are optimized by the data from a large number of users, which are not suitable for everyone. In this paper, we introduce an adaptive brush model which takes the user in a loop to improve the brushing accuracy.
Text alignment is a fundamental technique in many text-related domains. In this survey, we cover 3 text alignment scenarios: collation task, text reuse detection, and translation alignment. On the basis of those scenarios, we reviewed the existing text alignment visualization approaches and discussed their advantages and drawbacks. We finally derived design implications and shed light on related future challenges.
We propose a new semi-automatic method that uses topological features to guide users in tracing neurons, and integrate this method within a virtual reality framework. We use the Moore-Smell complex to find a set of candidate neuron arcs. The candidate arcs are integrated into a VR neuron tracing system and exposed through our Moore-Smell complex guided semi-automatic tracing tool. The topological ridge graph underlying our MSC guided tool is robust against gaps in the signal.
Hands-on cybersecurity training represents a domain where visual analytics can significantly improve the impact of teaching process. We describe this new application domain and introduce a conceptual model that can serve as a framework for the development of analytical visualizations. Unified training lifecycle will be discussed from the perspective of different user roles.
When developing a deep learning model, people typically struggle to optimize hyperparameters that are affecting the model performance. To relieve the pain of this manual trial process, AutoML has been developed as a solution. However, to maximize the potential of the AutoML, people should identify a good AutoML setting for their task. Hypertendry helps to maximize the potential by visualizing AutoML algorithm behavior and guiding effective hyperparameters.
If machine learning were like education, we would like to test what concepts our student, the model, has learned. Has it learned the concept of object rotation? Does additional text help with object recognition? We need a methodology and platform for conducting such tests. In this paper, we present a novel visual analytics tool that enables hypothesis-based evaluation of machine learned models.
We present the first generic design space and library for visual piling. Inspired by physically piling paper documents, visual piling describes an interface for spatial organization of visual artifacts into piles of partially overlapping items. Piling affords interactive grouping, arrangement, previewing, browsing, and aggregation to reduce the complexity and support comparison of large collections of small multiples.
CMed is a visual analytics framework for exploring medical image data annotations acquired from crowdsourcing. CMed can be used to visualize, classify, and filter crowdsourced clinical data based on a number of different metrics such as detection rate, logged events, and clustering of the annotations. CMed provides several interactive linked visualization components to analyze the crowd annotation results for a particular video and the associated workers.
The classifier trained on the historical data may fail to classify the incoming data when the data distribution is changing. This phenomenon is called concept drift. To handle the concept drift, we developed Drift VIS, a visual analytics system to help the expert understand when, where, and why the drift happens, and update the model to improve performance.
Scatter plots and parallel coordinates are widely used for visualizing multivariate discrete data. However, for multivariate continuous data, the continuous scatter plots and continuous parallel coordinates are more suitable. In this work, we extend them to uncertain data. Additionally, we also extend fibers to uncertain data. If you are interested, come to our presentation.
Position is believed to be the most precise encoding channel, but our perception and memory of it can still be biased. Past work has shown that the vertical position of bars in a bar chart is recalled in a biased manner, illustrating both an underestimation and overestimation bias of position. Here we find that the aspect ratios of the bar marks can cause this position bias, specifically resulting in overestimation for bars with wide ratios and underestimation for bars with tall ratios.
Tableau helps you see the stories in your data. It's designed to help you be smarter, so you can make better decisions faster. With Tableau, you can keep on asking questions in the data until you discover the root cause. Share your analysis securely. Your entire organization can access these interactive dashboards from any browser or mobile device to find their own answers. Tableau. Answer questions at the speed of thought.
We have seen many visualizations for tree data structures, but when showing changes in trees over time, some focus on displaying hierarchy, while others highlight their changes. With split streams, we combine two approaches and their individual benefits. We evaluated our method in a user study and consider it a general-purpose method for the visualization of dynamic hierarchies. Our JavaScript library is openly available.
Out-of-distribution samples refer to the test samples not well covered by the training data, like these black cats. They are misclassified with high confidence due to their black bodies. To explain why these samples are out of distribution, we developed OOD Analyzer, a visual analytics tool which provides an ensemble detection method and a grid-based visualization to detect and analyze out-of-distribution samples.
White space surfaces are a novel approach to convey depth in vessel visualizations. The core idea is to shift all additional depth cues away from geometry and to use the usually empty space between the vascular structures. This allows us to display functional parameters on the surface and supporting cues on the background. We will explain how to generate such surfaces and how to use them as a canvas to further enhance depth and shape perception.
We present VisActivities, a tool for visualizing hypergraphs where edges can connect any number of nodes. VisActivities is the first technique to display hyperedges with no overlap or crossing. Vertices are represented as rows, time periods flow from left to right, and groups can be shown on the left. We designed the layout for readability. VisActivities shines with mid-size hypergraphs and it allows detailed analysis. We tested VisActivities successfully using publication datasets and data from historical documents.
Entities and their changing relationships can be modeled more precisely as temporal hypergraphs, but hypergraph models are difficult to explore and refine. By leveraging domain-specific geometric deep learning models and a new multi-level hypergraph visualization, our technique allows for the direct integration of domain knowledge into the machine learning process. The multivariate hypergraph model structure can be analyzed on different abstraction levels. Simultaneously, experts can integrate their domain knowledge on the fly, and then explore the refined machine learning model.
Deep neural networks are vulnerable to maliciously generated adversarial examples. This brings high risk in applying these networks to safety-critical applications. We developed a visual analytics approach to explain the root cause of such wrong predictions. Our contribution contains a constrained data path extraction method, a river-based visualization, and a contribution analysis method.
We asked participants to recreate bar graphs. When the bar was alone, we saw a different pattern of error than when the bar was presented with context in a stacked bar graph. We find that absolute error increased for higher bars when they were presented alone. We also found that there was a bias in the responses such that they were repulsed from an implicit 50% mark. We found a magic number, 10%, to predict error. Participants are usually within 10% of the height of the bar.
Tableau helps you see the stories in your data. It's designed to help you be smarter, so you can make better decisions faster. Connect to the data you care about. Sort, highlight, drill down, or filter your data in seconds. Add calculations to extend your data. With Tableau, you can keep on asking questions in the data until you discover the root cause. Tableau. Answer questions at the speed of thought.
Pixel Clipper allows visitors to quickly and expressively extract visual clippings from visualizations and add comments to them. The clippings are useful for engaging the public with complex datasets because they are entry points into the visualization. This can be applied in a wide range of engagement experiences, such as the use of facilitated and ambient displays at public engagement events.
Several recent studies advocated the use of non-parametric density models for the improved characterization of data uncertainty. The non-parametric models, however, present the challenges such as increased memory and computational requirements. In this work, we propose an efficient non-parametric framework for volume rendering in the context of uncertain data and show their effectiveness in classifications via comparisons with the other statistical models.
Program developers spend significant time on